All right, everyone. Well, welcome back to Hoop to Holler with Dylan and Walrus, aka the B-Ball Study Hall. We're working through some frustration right now, man. But you know what? Talking a little bit of hoop always clears that out. How you
There we
doing today,
go.
man?
Yeah, let's get lost from reality. We're on summer break. Congratulations, Walrus. The basketball study hall. Summer rolling. Yeah, good to talk some hoops with you, Wally. And what'd you think about those finals, dude? What'd you think?
I mean, what an incredible finals, honestly. It went 5 games, so not full 6 or 7, but those 5 games were all really tight, game down to the wire. And what can you say about the New York Knicks, man? 53-year drought,
Yeah.
gone, finito. I really enjoy them. Just from 30,000 feet, what did you think about the finals before we get into the nitty gritty?
Yeah, Bing Bong raining down, right? The drought is over. Yeah, it was a finals of leadership. I think that was kind of cool to see, and a city on fire. I think of when you're in the middle of things, you kind of I don't know, poise your La La Land versus New York. Like those are the cities, right? Those are the cities of the coast, and
Yep.
so it's cool to see a fan base kind of get there after 50 plus years. I wish it would have gone 6 or 7 games, but I understand, ultimately why it came down like that. And it's you got to give Brunson a lot of credit and the ability to play in the clutch and finish games, right? Anybody can jump out to a lead. Can you maintain a lead? That was the frustrating part over and over again was just seeing the Spurs ability to put it on them, lead most of the finals really, but come out with these L's at the end.
Yeah, I think it's something like around 72% of the finals, the Spurs were in the lead. It's wild.
Crazy. Yeah, I mean that how would that feel, right? To three-quarters of your life to be to be winning and still, 4 out of 5 games are losses. And the one game that was the win was kind of that awkward game, right? Where the building MSG itself was kind of in a funky spot. So yeah. Youth, do you think Wally? Do you think leadership? I put it a little bit. I put it on Coach Mitch in a big way. De'Aaron Fox, I'm sure we'll talk about versus Jalen Brunson and Coach Mike Brown getting it done. That's the simple way for me to boil it down.
Sure. Yeah, no, I think experience definitely played a role, particularly when it came to the coaching. Mike Brown really, showed why he has been, an NBA coach for as long as he has been, a coach of the year, a
Yeah,
guy who, took LeBron to his first finals in 2007 that had really no business getting there. And then, of course, being on the Golden State Warriors staff with Steve Kerr for all of those finals runs. Well, I think 3 of the 4. I don't think he was there for 2022. I
yeah.
think at that point he was in Sacramento. But anyways,
And
the
then
guy,
had success in Sacramento too. The Light the Beam years were about the best sack years since the Weber Vlade days.
without a
White
doubt,
chocolate. Yeah,
without a doubt, yeah. And Mitch Johnson definitely showed, how relatively inexperienced he is as a head coach. And like, not to cast any aspersions against that guy. He and his team, they were ahead of schedule.
Mhm.
But yeah, I think really this came down to experience and leadership. I've said it now a couple of times recently. I think Jalen Brunson's the best leader in basketball. I
Mm.
mean, that dude just exudes confidence, but also kind of coupled with humility at the same time.
Yeah. Yep.
Almost harkens back to the late great for me, Kobe Bryant.
Yeah.
Like having that
That's
intensity, but also not taking anything for granted, not wanting to be in the room with the Larry O'Brien trophy for all the
yeah.
promotional stuff. I
Yeah.
mean, come on. So, yeah, I think Jalen Brunson, the finals MVP usually goes to, the players scoring the most points and all that.
Yep.
But he really was, in every which way, the most valuable player in that series because he willed his team to win, especially in game 5.
Yeah.
So let's talk about why the Knicks won this final. So for me, first off, they just never gave in to being down as they were in all 5 of those games.
Yep.
They ultimately, pulled ahead, obviously, to win the games. Going into those finals on an insane run, I think they
Hmm.
won, 11 in a row. They
Yep.
finished the playoffs off with a plus 283
Wow.
point differential,
That was
which I
record
think is
setting,
like
right?
50 points clear of what the 2017 Dubs with KD, the first of those first 2 KD championships with Golden State, cleared that by 50
Mm.
points. Just absolutely incredible. But yeah, man, they did not rely on the three when it wasn't dropping, but they were hitting a good amount of those, especially OG Anunoby in the corners.
Yep.
But getting into the paint, particularly their leader Brunson, especially late, I think that proved to be the difference. Whereas Spurs, just to my consternation, just as a basketball fan, just living and dying, in this case, dying by the three.
Mm.
I just, it's hard for me to understand how by game three, game four, I mean, they won game three, but
Yeah.
by game four, they didn't figure out a way to stop just falling back into that trap.
Yeah, tough cycle to break, I guess, especially when it's rolling so well. I did hear Vanessa Bryant give a shout out to Jalen Brunson. Did you see that? So I think she too sees the the Mamba mentality there with your guy.
That's awesome.
Yeah, kind of cool. Yeah, I think you're onto it, Wally. Coach Mitch had a tough decision, right? De'Aaron Fox has been a clutch player in the past. That game seven against OKC was really good, and he's your vet. And so, how long do you hitch your wagon to him? Or when do you cut ties? Like even Barkley's asking for him to be benched at halftime of the last game finally.
Right.
But if you're the coach and you're a young coach, and everybody else is telling you, oh, Dylan Harper, give him the keys, like it's time. But I mean, he's your vet for a reason, and he was hobbled, he was injured. I want to give him some patience and credence. But to me, that was a big difference maker. Is like that was the gamble, that was the coaching decision you had to make. Was are you going to continue to let him make decisions and operate, and is that going to get you wins, or do you got to kind of like let this next what the future is going to be, which is going to be Dylan Harper with the ball in his hands a lot. And in my opinion, you know where I stand. I think Steph Castle got the short end of the stick a little bit. He was in foul trouble. Game four was really pivotal. Didn't really get it going. Game five. I like him with the ball, with his force, even if there's turnovers. I didn't think they went to that enough. And then when you're talking about Brunson getting wherever he wanted, Wemby was gassed, dude. Wemby was gassed in the fourth quarters because he's playing big minutes by then. They played him less than 30 minutes in the regular season, 35 minutes throughout the playoffs, and then in the finals they're asking 40 minutes out of this dude. And he didn't have the legs, and Brunson could take advantage of that. So there were a lot of they're young, and I've heard people say, oh, they were ahead of schedule. They shouldn't have been there anyway. You know, Opportunities are rare. You never know when you're getting back, right? I mean, ask OKC this
Yep.
year, ask any team that, right? So we assume Wemby will be healthy, but all it takes is a bad injury, and this could be the peak of him. I don't think it'll go that way. I hope it doesn't go that way. But you got to take opportunities, and to be up 14 points, 12 points, 29 points, and watch these things slip away. That really game four. OG's chase down block on De'Aaron Fox and then the tip heard around the world. That'll live forever, right? That series, that
Absolutely.
sequence was massive. And I guess to your point, taking the step back as a fan, I can appreciate that a veteran savvy team got it done. Cat 2 points in the last game, but after the first two games, we all thought Cat was the MVP. Then in the middle, we thought, oh, OG's the MVP. And then by game five, Brunson, closes out, and he was the steady hand throughout. But he was inefficient early. Castle, I thought, did a good job locking him up until game four foul
Yeah.
trouble. So it was a fun series, Wally. But I wish we could. I was ready for a game six, game seven. So of course, you're kind of pulling for that. But in the end. The New York deserved to win. And remember, dude, you said it.
Yeah.
They were down 2-1 to the Atlanta Hawks, CJ McCollum ripping their hearts out. They were down 2-1. And at the time, I was like, Coach Brown is terrible. They should have kept Tibbs. This was a mistake. And then you fast forward and the run they went on, the steady hand that he led with. And, do you think Tibbs set them up for these long minutes? Or do you think, this was Coach Brown getting him over the hump, a mix of both? And did you really ever see Brunson being, a finals MVP on a championship team? Could you have seen this coming?
So first off, going with Tom Thibodeau, yeah, I think he definitely did set this up. He's the guy who really put that starting five together. And I think that continuity minus him, was a huge, huge reason why they ultimately did what they did.
Hmm.
It kind of, it's interesting when you think about it's not apples to apples, but think about like what Mark
Warriors.
Jackson
Yeah.
did,
Yep.
right?
Yep.
With with Steph and Clay and Draymond, and then you bring in a fresh set of eyes.
Wally, not to cut you, but
Yeah,
that analogy I think works if it was the Spurs almost like because the Warriors were so young at that time when Kerr took them over. Like this Knicks team, is already veteran laden players. Like imagine if Coach Mitch got let go of this year and then Tibbs or somebody came in and took that job and then he gets the Spurs there. That to me would be more the analogy. But I do understand kind of the setup and then what Steve Kerr and what Coach Brown have done.
yeah, yeah. I mean, look, I'm not gonna lie. I am not shocked. I am not surprised getting the opportunity he did to be in the finals. that Jalen Brunson pulled off what he did.
Cool.
I am very surprised he did it as well as he did.
Yeah.
That game five performance, I
Nice.
don't think
Yeah.
he's ever going to get enough credit for that performance.
You
45 to close out on the road. Only other player who ever did that before was Jordan in 98. And
yeah.
just so, and very interestingly enough, coincidence or not, these finals have the best ratings since the
Yeah.
1998 NBA Finals, MJ's last with the Bulls, right? I mean, and he outscored the rest of the starters by
Yeah.
5 points.
Yep.
So,
Didn't have a lot of
like,
help. Yeah.
wow, and he wasn't efficient earlier in the finals, but he went, I think, like 14 to 28 or 27 in that game five,
Yeah.
if my memory serves.
Yep.
So I'm not surprised being in the position that he was, because the dude, he's a gamer. He's never say die, Mr. Clutch right now in the NBA. And going back to just like one of my philosophies when it comes to basketball, do not rely on the 3-point shot.
Yeah.
He's a guy who gets his butt, and he's got a big one. He's like what's your phrase with him, right? Like a bowling
Big.
ball.
Yeah.
He gets into the paint. He's got his nice little step back floater.
And it's lefty. And it's
And it's a
lefty.
higher percentage shot.
Yeah.
And it's a lefty too, which definitely makes a difference. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, in terms of, yeah, so like why the Knicks won, they played team basketball, their leader, did not settle from the outside like Wemby was settling from the outside. That kind of leads into what you were saying as far as why I think the Spurs lost. I think the Spurs lost, yes, because they were just relying too much on the perimeter shooting, but also, especially Wemby. But I mean, really, like if you want to temper the guys, excuse me, if you want to temper the guys' conditioning, right? If you want to give him a little bit of a break, if you want to max, he's 7'4", man.
Yeah.
Like, I'm sorry. Like the lesson that needs to be taken away for Wemby and the Spurs from this finals, that's a person who needs to learn, develop, harness, hone, and then master a post game.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
You're calling
Like,
for that.
I'm getting so sick and tired. I'm getting so sick and tired as a basketball fan. As a Lakers fan, I hope he keeps doing what he's doing, because it'll make it an easier job for the Lakers to overcome. But as a basketball fan, I'm just getting so sick and tired year after year after year when it comes to my Lakers, other teams, the Spurs. Like, if you're not Steph Curry, every 3-pointer is not a good 3-pointer.
Yeah.
So you got to figure out a way to win without that. That had been going on with the NBA for like, whatever, 65, 70 years before Steph Curry stepped on the NBA floor. And this is the guy who, you've heard me say it before, and people laugh. I'm sorry. If there was ever a person to bring back the skyhook,
Yeah. Yep.
it's Victor Wembanyama.
Yeah.
If he actually committed to that, game, set, match, dude. Game, set, match. So I think the Spurs lost for the same reason why the Celtics lost last year. A great 3-point shooting team when they're on, but they shot themselves out of the playoffs.
Yeah.
You just can't rely on that. You just can't rely on that. That's why I think did them in.
It's good. It's good stuff. And I'm with you. And then there is kind of some sweet basketball poetic justice in that the fall in love with the 3-point shot doesn't work in these pivotal games in the playoffs. Sometimes, it's a flip of the coin. You shoot yourself in, you shoot yourself out. And you think back to game 4, everything for the Knicks kind of went as well as it could to get there. Even some timely threes from OG, but Josh Hart misses that layup. But you're right. If you just look at Brunson versus Vic of where they were doing their work, Brunson's getting to a spot, and it is mid range, or it's like paint touches. And I think that's when Castle's dominant too. And they went away for that. And Vic likes to dance a little bit. He likes to dance. I think he sees himself as KD more than he does Kareem at this point, and that's a mental change.
For sure. Absolutely.
You kind of respect that ability, but you're right. I think there's definitely, we're just scratching the surface on what he could be. But he does get pushed off his spot. Like Cat did a good job of, doing his work early and pushing him out. You think of Wemby even when he got,
oh yeah,
quote unquote post touches, he's still probably 20 feet from the hoop and he's like falling over and having to regather himself. So it's strength, but his leverage is funky too, right? When you're that tall, it's easy to get underneath of him too. So there's some things that work there, but you're right. It'll be interesting to see, what both the Spurs coaching staff does and what he chooses to kind of work on in the offseason and how he comes back. When you think back all the way, Walrus, game 1, do you remember that first game? He was dominant in the post of the regular season, and everybody's thinking, oh my God, who is this? So like, that's what's weird about the season is you saw that, but I think I think as much as skill set, it's mental and it takes a lot more energy to play in the post. I mean, you saw that with Shaq. Like when you go through the historical greats, like those guys got banged on and beat up, and you have to be willing to do that consistently. And it's kind of easier to dance from 30 facing the hoop. You know, they think of James Harden or whoever it is. Like it's easier to play that style. Your guy Luca, and I think Vic falls in love with that a little bit. But that's coaching too, right? Like if Popovich had still been the coach. How would this have shaken
Oh,
out
he would be
different?
in the paint. He would be in the paint.
You gotta
Come
imagine, right?
on,
Or at least at the nail or the
absolutely.
at the free throw line. Yeah, I agree. And I think too, a hook shot, dude, you're right. Like you and I both have a poor man's hook shot. Like anybody can shoot the
Yeah,
shot. Like it can even just be the Shaq baby hook. Like if you just extend your arm above your head, nobody is touching that. And the guy has touch. So it is kind of
he
interesting,
does.
rating wise, Wally, New York and Vic, right? Those are the factors. Think about what he did for the NBA Cup, the All-Star game, the Olympics. He cares. So like
Big time.
I'm so appreciative that he cares, and I love that New York got behind it. But it's cool to see those ratings kind of kicking up. Who gets back next year? Who do you think has a higher likelihood?
So yeah, let's talk a little future here between these two teams, right? So obviously New York has an easier,
I
path
mean,
in the
maybe
East.
Giannis is gonna be a big piece, and we'll talk about that, right?
If yes,
Yeah,
so yeah, the
Boston
talk right now is Giannis maybe going to Boston.
or Miami, or yeah, yeah,
We shall see. I think if it's Miami, I still would take New York over the Heat with Giannis. Now, if he goes to Boston, that probably means that Jalen Brown is
hmm
moving out of there.
hmm
So for me, I still think the Knicks are going to be the favorite to come out of the East next year.
Okay,
I really do. I think Detroit showed that they had a great regular season, but they don't have another creator. With Cade Cunningham. Um, Boston, we shall see whether they get Giannis or not. They've won a title. They've proven that they could do it. But
yeah.
again, like they
Shoot
they
themselves in, shoot
they
themselves out. Yeah,
yeah, and
yeah.
that's not sustainable. As far as the West goes,
Tough
it's gonna be interesting. I think the Thunder are gonna be playing with a big chip on their shoulder,
as they should.
but
Yep.
also what they're gonna look like is gonna be interesting. They might not be able to keep Hartenstein, and he is as big a part of that team winning as anyone, honestly, on that squad. See about my Lakers. Houston, I think is we'll see what Fred VanVleet might be able to bring in that team. But truly, I would not be surprised. I'm not calling it because we need to see what the summer is going to shake out when it comes
Sure.
to players moving around. But right now, like let's just say everything stays the way it is right now, which is not going to happen. But at the moment, I would not be surprised if it's a repeat of these finals.
Oh
I
wow.
really wouldn't be. I think the Knicks are getting back next year, even if
Hmm.
Giannis goes to Boston. I think they've gotten a taste. I think they've seen how they can win. Um, as far as the Spurs go, it's going to be dependent on how much they can, take this experience and mature.
hmm
That's a hungry young team, and yeah, I think it has to be Dylan Harper's time.
Mm.
That they could have won these finals
Yeah.
if Mitch Johnson had figured out, like you were saying earlier, like a lot of people are looking at, like, come
Yeah.
on, man, that kid just had the best 20-year-old playoff run in NBA history. I
hmm
mean, what was it? Game 4, I think he had the high for the Spurs, 25 to
Yep.
Wemby's like 19.
Yep.
20 years old,
Yep.
like looking like a grown man out there. So I wouldn't be surprised if both these teams make it back. But for the Spurs, though, they're gonna actually win it. They they have to move off of that trap of just relying on the outside shot. You got a guy who's like, I get like he's called the alien for a reason because yes, he can put it through his legs, he can hit the step back, he can hit from half court, but that's not the main thing that makes him an alien. What makes him an alien is how tall he is and what touch he has with that height.
Yep. And movement. Yeah, you're right.
You know.
Yeah.
So we'll see. What do you think? What do you think
Yeah.
about these two teams next year?
I think that's all good. I think it's 50-50 coin flip. I had Knicks making it this year because I think their talent was there,
You
but then
did.
they played so up and down throughout the year. You kind of like, I don't know, is this team good? Is there not? And it's interesting to think back to the NBA Cup, right? The Knicks beat the Spurs in the NBA Cup, and then here it is in the finals. So how do you bet against Brunson at this point? I think that's fair to say. But we would have said that again, after the Celtics run a couple years ago as well. So a lot of things can change. But yeah, right now on paper, they have a team, they have chemistry. Chemistry wins out ultimately. If if talent is similar, I think, that's the extra push. And so the other thing with Giannis, we'll talk more about that, but like it made me think a little when you're talking about OKC. What's the reload right there with J Dub? Like could they be a sneaky trade partner? Could the Timberwolves be a sneaky trade partner? With Ant too. So we'll see what those teams kind of do, and then of course your Lakers are going to try to work things out. So the West is going to be tough as it is, and maybe we got to give a little respect to the East, right? I mean the East, they got it done, right? And
Yeah.
they've got it done a few years in the past. So yeah, the Spurs. The one thing I'd push back on Dylan Harper a little bit is he a playmaking first point guard or is he a score first point guard? And I'm leaning score first right now.
At
And I
the
think that
moment, he's a scoring
yeah,
guard. I
and
agree.
I don't know that that changes. I kind of think guys either have court vision and they like to pass or they don't. So if De'Aaron Fox would have just been decent. If Chris Paul had got those minutes instead of De'Aaron Fox, would they have won? Like you just needed a steady hand. And as great as Dylan Harper is with the ball in his hands, does he look for Wemby? That's one thing I think Castle does a good job is
Big
finding him
time.
on lobs.
And
And
they went away from that,
they
like
did
that
that
right there.
exactly. Yep, exactly. That was my, and I think some of that was like that's the part I don't really understand is like in the end, who had the keys for the Spurs when it came to winning time? I don't think there's an answer. It was a little bit of Fox, it was a little bit of Dylan Harper, it was a little bit of Wemby, but did Castle really ever have the keys? And I know he's turnover prone, but they're forceful turnovers where he's in the paint, not bad like going away from the basket turnovers. So that's my bias. I could be dead wrong on that, but I've heard a lot of all the chatter right now is Dylan Harper is the second best Spur. I disagree
Oh,
respectfully
I disagree. I'm with you on that. No, Castle is firmly the second best Spur. He needs to tighten up his dribble,
for sure, and he
and
might
he
not.
was not getting calls. That
Yeah,
dude was getting
yeah.
hacked as much as anyone. He
I
was not
agree.
getting calls.
Yep, they let him play. I mean, and that was good on the Knicks. They whether it was Cat or OG, they played physical. And this was something I heard Doc say about Mike Brown that it was after Game 4 or was it Game 3? I think it was Game 3 that they lost. When he was talking about the refs and the officiating. And from then on, Brunson got calls, and the Spurs maybe it faded a little bit. So that's veteran leadership too with your coach playing the refs a little bit. That card. But yeah, either team could get back. Well, I think it's coin flip, 50-50. Then the Knicks get back, the Spurs get back. And that's the parity we have right now, right? That's where the NBA is at.
8 years in a row,
Yeah.
a
Yep. It's
different
hard.
champion.
I mean,
Unbelievable.
didn't we think OKC was getting back this year?
Yeah, and
I
they
mean,
almost did.
I had the Nuggets because I thought Joker might, like, and that I'm still not going to sleep on Joker as long as he's healthy. I still think that's a dude. So,
Yeah.
yeah, we've got good teams across the board. Is there anything else from the finals that kind of sticks with you, or any lessons to be learned, anything that you really enjoyed, or any surprises, I guess?
I'm going to go back to the MVP.
Okay.
I really I think what Jalen Brunson just did is legendary with a capital L, like mythical.
You
I
think
mean,
it's
think
Dirk?
about.
You think it's kind of like Dirk, like that championship run?
I think it's more than that.
Oh, wow.
Oh, I think it's more than that. Just like consider all the context, right? So first off, you have a 53-year drought in the mecca of basketball,
Yep. Take
right?
less
I
money.
mean,
Take less money.
overcoming that, like, wow.
Hmm.
Little guy, you know what
Yep.
I mean? Like, let's set 6'2", but
Yeah.
probably is,
5'11.
a short 6 foot, right? You would
Yeah.
say perhaps under.
Yep.
Being able to lead his team, to a win like that. Only other guy, that
Isaiah
you could
Thomas.
say about is Isaiah Thomas,
Yep.
Zeke, who had a better team than Brunson had.
Maybe
Hall of
similar
Famers.
team, I think.
Yeah, I
Like
mean, well,
stars in their roles kind of guys. I mean,
yeah,
that's like
I don't
I
know.
we
There's
should
no
it'd be an
Dennis
interesting
Rodman
flesh
on
out.
that.
Then
What's that?
it'd be an interesting flesh out to knock those have those teams head up and see which team you really think is better. I think it's pretty close, but
Yeah,
continue. I like where you're going.
yeah.
So you think
I'm just
biggest thing since Zeke in terms of a small
Oh,
guard?
as far as small, yeah, there's no doubt about that. I mean, look, Allen Iverson was Allen Iverson, and if Allen Iverson was on this Knicks team, I think he probably could have done the same thing that
Hmm.
Brunson did.
Okay.
He was that good.
He had a
Um,
worse team.
oh, for sure,
Yeah.
absolutely. There's no doubt about that. Yeah, but I mean, getting the Knicks their first championship in over half a century, doing it at his size,
Yeah.
and then think about how the finals began. First quarter, he gets bumped in the knee. That must have hurt
Yeah.
like
It
hell.
looked like it was over. Good.
He
Yeah.
gets back on the court, right? Then he gets his ankle
Ankle.
rolled
Yeah.
on.
And then the
I mean,
Wemby ankle later too.
it's like you kidding me, and then he comes back to, end up scoring 13 in that fourth quarter, 30, I think, overall. They take the first game on the road. That's huge. totally changed the tenor of the series. And he showed up in each and every game. And then that game five, I mean,
Yeah,
that was Jordan-esque.
it's a great
There's
point.
just no other way for me to put it. 45 on the road, leading his team, heads and shoulders above pretty much anyone who's ever done it in the finals. Again, the only guy who's done that is Jordan. You had a couple of guys score 50 in a closeout game, but that was at home. Um, just I cannot say enough about the guy and just his mentality. Like
Mhm.
if he's for me, so he's a very talented player. There's no
Mhm.
doubt about that. But I think he played above his talent in
Will to
these
win,
finals.
will to win,
The
and
will
get
to
it
win,
done. Yeah, yeah,
you
grit.
know,
Yeah, grit of
um,
the city. Yeah, no, that's good.
and instilling that in his teammates. I love that stuff. Like for me,
Mhm.
that's like the best of not just basketball but sports. Period. Like
Yeah.
what you have here,
Yep.
like that can put you over the hump, and I think that's what ended up happening.
That's good, and he held up defensively too. In fact, that Vic terrible outlet to Castle was like whatever game they lost because of that outlet pass that him and hit in the back. It was Brunson who came up with that loose ball and then drew the foul. Right, like
Right?
he held up defensively at his size. Like they tried to hunt him, and he did. I mean, can you think of him getting burned real bad? Like nothing in my
No,
mind is like, oh, he was terrible defensively because he cares, right? Like effort is there. So yeah, that's good stuff with Brunson. Would you say he's like we're prisoners of the moment? Is there a guard you rather have than him right now in the league? Where do you rank him then? Is he a top five player for you?
I love the guy's leadership. Like
You have him over Luca.
I would take, yeah, like as insane as most people would say
Well, the
it
health is
is.
a big piece. You said like he
That's a
played
big
through those
piece.
injuries, and Luca we didn't see in the playoffs again,
Yeah.
dude. Yeah, like
I right now, as insane as some people would say I am, and I don't think it would be an invalid thing to say. I really though I would take right now Jalen Brunson over Luka Doncic.
so you go
He,
Vic. How about SGA then?
I think you got to go Vic, and I would get that guy playing his butt down in the
So
paint.
you go Vic
I
Joker.
would take Brunson over SGA. I really
Wow.
would. I really would.
Vic Joker
Um,
Brunson.
Big Joker. Yeah, I mean, if we're talking just players overall, you gotta talk Wemby, you gotta talk Joker, um, Luca, SGA. I would take Brunson.
Giannis.
I would take Brunson in that third slot. I really
Wow.
would.
I mean,
I really would.
you can't
It's the
not.
leadership, dude. It's the
Hmm.
leadership. He's got the talent. Like the dude has proven like he's a guy who can put up buckets. He's clutch, you know, but it's that leadership element. Like I
Best leader
think
in
he's
basketball,
got
you think? Best leader in
I
basketball.
genuinely think that. So, but I thought it was a great finals, great season. You of course want to see everyone healthy. It would have been great to see Luca healthy and see what my Lakers could have
Yeah.
done. We shall see what the next season brings. I think OKC, proved themselves not to be, the world beaters that everyone was saying they were. You got to ultimately get it done on the court, and they almost did. It's not
Yeah.
like they, weren't close. They were. And the Spurs are ascendant. But yeah, right now I think the Knicks are in that prime spot. And it's the old saying, right? You want to be the man, you got to beat the man. And I don't think the Knicks are just going to be simply giving it away next year. I think we might end up seeing a repeat champion.
Wow.
That's
Hasn't happened. Hasn't happened since the
I
Warriors.
would not be shocked. I really wouldn't. They've gotten a taste, and when you win in New York, there's something about that. Let me tell you, there's no other place like New York when it comes to being a champion. It
Hmm.
just gives you such an extra boost.
It's
And I
interesting.
think they might carrying that through.
Maybe just thinking, I know we're on the way out.
Yeah,
If OKC had gotten there, would we be having a different conversation? Then we would have saw Brunson and SGA go head to
yeah,
head. Like, does OKC get it done? And of course, that's an if, but matchups are so interesting, aren't they? It seemed like
it's true.
the Spurs had the Thunder number. We talked about that all season, and the Knicks had the Spurs number throughout the season as well. So, yeah, interesting nuance.
Yeah,
So we'll see whether this Giannis sweepstakes lands out. We'll talk a little bit
yep,
about your Lakers coming up, and yeah, fun finals, fun season, Wally, and let's see what the off season nonsense has in store for us. Don't be
absolutely.
surprised if the Giannis thing becomes some weird sleeper thing out of left field. I don't know. Who knows with
We'll
that
see,
guy,
man.
dude?
We'll see. Always great dealing with you, man. All right, we'll catch you on the next one.
All right, brother.